Hello everyone. Myself Vedant Nikam. I'm currently pursuing my BTech degree in computer science from Vishwakarma Institute of Technology, Pune. I'm a second year student. Today's presentation is about introduction to DBMS. Starting to DBMS, first we need to understand some basic terms related to it. Let's begin without a delay. So the first term related to database is data. So what is data? Basically, data is known facts or figures that can be recorded. Then what is information? Information is basically processed data. So let's understand these two concepts with an example. Let's take an example, a sentence that she runs daily. So here, she runs daily is termed as information. If we take an example like she runs 5 kilometer daily, here 5 kilometer is a data. So basically, data gives us more information, more understanding about the information. So after these two terms, there is a term called as database. So what is database? Database is a collection of data. To be more precise, it is collection of related data. So there are more two terms which we are required to understand before starting with our presentation. So the first one is entity and the second one is attribute. So what is entity? Basically, the term whose data is stored in database is known as entity, whereas the attribute gives us more information about the entity. Let's take an example to understand these two concepts. Let's take an example as student. So here student is termed as entity, whereas student name, student age, student email ID are called as attributes. So now we will understand what is database management system. That is what is DBMS. So basically, DBMS is a collection of programs that enables users to create and maintain database. It is used for defining, constructing, and manipulating databases for various applications. So constructing the database is a process of storing the data itself on some storage medium that is controlled by DBMS. Whereas manipulating a database includes functions such as querying the database to retrieve specific data, updating the database, and generating reports from the data. So let's understand why users require DBMS. So these are some following tasks which can be achieved by users. So first one is data definition. It is used for creation, modification, and removal of definition that defines the organization of data in a database. Then what is data updation? It is used for insertion, modification, and deletion of the data from the database. Some of the most popular databases used are SQL and MongoDB. So the third one is data retrieval. Whenever we want to use the data in our application or use that data to do something, we use data retrieval. That is, it is used to retrieve the data from the database, which can be used by applications. The next one is user administration. It is used for registering and monitoring the users which are currently using those data. It is used for maintaining data integrity as well as security. So the next one, which we are going to discuss, is the difference between database systems and file systems. So the first database system introduced was called as file system. So the basic difference between database system and file system is, in file systems we can store various kind of data such as video, JPEG, PPT, or images. But whereas in database systems such as SQL, we can only store the text in the form of tables. So if we want to store these kind of things like videos or images, we will have to store those links or paths in our database. So one more difference is security. In database system, security is more as compared to file systems. So this is the basic difference between database systems and file systems. So the next point is, what is the need of DBMS? So these are some following examples where DBS is needed. The first one is ease of accessing data. DBMS removes redundancy by granting access to users and decides which and how many parts of data is accessible to them from the database. The second one is storage and management of data. DBMS is used to store the data and manage the data in various terms like updation of it, deletion of it. Also, in DBMS, the data is stored in the form of objects. The third point is called as easy and efficient file management. What does this mean? It means that the entire database runs for every query operation as files are indexed. It takes a lot of time compared to DBMS, where objects are indexed based on the attribute of data. The next thing is avoiding duplicates and redundancy. The main thing about DBMS is it uses the principle of data normalization. It is used to avoid duplicate data. The next is concurrent data accessing. Basically, users can access data simultaneously through different applications. In the file system, this simultaneous access leads to inconsistency. So this is a plus point of database management system. So the next thing is ACID properties. This is the most important concept in DBMS. So ACID properties, the ACID word stands, the each letter in ACID word has its own meaning. The first A stands for atomicity, C stands for consistency, I stands for isolation, whereas D stands for durability. So what is atomicity? The entire transaction takes place at once or doesn't happen at all. So basically, the data is entirely pre-processed or entirely not processed at once. It doesn't process in part by part. The next one is consistency. The database must be consistent before and after the transaction. It shouldn't happen that the data which we processed before the transaction was different and the data which we see after the transaction is different. It is consistent. The next one is isolation. Multiple transactions occur independently without interference, whereas in file systems multiple transactions can be happened, but it is very inconsistent as compared to database management systems. And the last point is durability. The changes of successful transactions occurs even if the system failure occurs. So now we'll see what are the advantages of DBMS. The first advantage is controls database redundancy. As we have seen, it can control data redundancy because it stores all the data in one single database, and that can be recorded data in placed in the database. The second point is data sharing. In DBMS, the authorized users of an organization can share the data among multiple users, which helps in data sharing. The next point is easily maintenance. It can be easily maintainable due to centralized nature of the database system. Reduce time. Reduces development time and maintenance need. Next one is backup. It provides backup and recovery subsystems, whereas file systems doesn't provide these things. The next point is multiple user. As we discussed earlier, multiple users can access the data and work on it. So now we'll see what are the practical life applications of database and management systems. So the first one is banking. So in banking, database can be used for storing customer information, accounts, loans, or banking transactions. The second one is airlines. In airlines, database can be used for storing the information of the user, storing the information of the flights, storing the information of arrival time, or storing the information of departure time. The next is universities. As we all know, attendance or mark sheets, these are also a form of database only. So these we require these in a daily basis. So the next one is telecommunication. In telecommunication, database can be used to record some calls or monthly bills or maintaining balances or some prepaid calling cards. The next one is finance. In finance, it is used for holding the sales, stocks, also some financial instruments and bonds. For sales, database can be used for uh, the number of customers, the number of products, or the purchase information. In manufacturing department, databases can be used for listing the number of factories, the number of inventories available, then the number of items available, or the number of orders placed. And the last one is human resources. For it is used to store information about employees, their salaries, their taxes, their benefits, their holidays, etc. So this was it for today's presentation. From the next In the next video, we will discuss what is data abstraction and some more use cases of database and management system. So that's it for today. Thank you.